And welcome back to an episode of Ministry of Truth. I am your only host on this show. Sorry I had a little bit of start time because, well, I did have a bunch of VA appointments this morning, and I'd like to keep those. So, good morning, good afternoon, Zippity. Same time zone, so it's almost afternoon for us. We're going to talk a little bit about what happened at Fort Stewart and a little bit more about the suspect, who, by the way, was tackled by fellow soldiers. Remember when I said that when it comes to gunshots, most soldiers will run to them instead of away from them? Well, that definitely happened. But before we get anything started, we need to start off with a little music because that's just the way I am. And how else do we start off the song? A week? Day? By saying the exact same shit. Now, go get your coffee, go get your bagel, go get your chicken fried rice, go get your soda, your sweet tea, or whatever it is y'all fucking drink around noon. Technically, you can start drinking. I mean, there's nothing saying you can't drink at 8 in the morning. It's just frowned upon.
It would be better if you gave me nothing at all. This album is less than nothing. I can't sell this fucking record. You're rapping about homosexuals and Vicodin. I can't sell this shit. Either change the record or it's not coming out.
This song is for anyone. Fuck it. Shut up and listen. Hey yo.
Hey yo.
With this pack of zigzags and this bag of this weed, it gives me the shit needed to be the most meanest MC on this earth. And since birth, I've been cursed with this curse to just curse and just blurt this berserk and bizarre shit that works and it sells and it helps in itself to relieve all this tension, dispensing these sentences, getting the stress that's been eating me recently off of this chest, and I rest again peacefully. But at least have the decency in you to leave me alone when you freaks see me out in the streets when I'm eating or feeding my daughter to not come and speak to me. I don't know you and no, I don't owe you a motherfucking thing. I'm not Mr. Instinct, I'm not what your friends think. I'm not Mr. Friendly, I can be a prick if you tip me. My tank is on empty. No patience is in me, and if you offend me, I'm lifting you 10 feet in the air. I don't care who was there and who saw me. Just jaw you or call you a lawyer, file you a lawsuit. I'll smile in the courtroom and buy you a wardrobe. I'm tired of all you. I don't mean to be mean, but that's all I can be. It's just me, and I am whatever you say I am. If I wasn't, then why would I say I am? In the paper, the news, every day I am. Radio won't even play my jam, cause I am whatever you say I am. If I wasn't, then why would I say I am? In the paper, the news, every day I am. I don't know, it's just the way I am. Sometimes I just feel like my father. I hate to be bothered with all of this nonsense. It's constant and it's just lyrical content. The song Guilty Conscience has gotten such rotten responses, and all of this controversy circles me, and it seems like the media immediately points a finger at me. So I point one back at him, but not the index or pinky or the ring or the thumb. It's the one you put up when you don't give a fuck, when you won't just put up with the bullshit they pull, cause they full of shit too. When a dude's getting bullied and shoots up the school and they blame it on Maryland and the heroin, where were the parents?
Yeah, I remember being
where it's at, middle of America. Now it's a tragedy, now it's so sad to see an upper class city having this happening. Then attack Eminem cause I rap this way, but I'm glad cause they feed me the fuel that I need for the fire to burn, and it's burning and I have returned, and I am whatever you say I am. If I wasn't, then why would I say I am? In the paper, the news, every day I am. Radio won't even play my jam, cause I am whatever you say I am. If I wasn't, then why would I say I am?
Almost done, guys.
In the paper, the news, every day I am. I don't know, it's just the way I am. I'm so sick and tired of being admired that I wish that I would just die or get fired and drop from my label. Let's stop with the fables. I'm not gonna be able to top on my name is pigeonholed into some poppy sensation that got me rotation at rock and roll stations, and I just do not got the patience to deal with these cocky Caucasians who think I'm some wigger who just tries to be black, cause I talk with an accent and grab on my balls so they always keep asking the same.
I remember when they were playing his initial song.
What school did I go to? What hood I grew up in? The why, the who, what, when, the where, and the how. Till I'm grabbing my hair and I'm tearing it out. Cause they're driving me crazy. I can't take it, I'm racing, I'm pacing, I stand and I sit, and I'm thankful for every fan that I get, but I can't take a shit in the bathroom without someone standing by it. No, I won't sign your autograph, you can call me an asshole, I'm glad, cause I am whatever you say I am.
Now that that's over, let's get to Fort Stewart. Some of these stories are in order, at least order when I saw them tonight. So this one is the same one that we watched yesterday as it was happening. Just a refresher.
New updates on the active shooter situation at Fort Stewart Army Post in Georgia. A suspect is in custody with as many as 5 people injured. Joining us on the phone, Fox News contributor and retired NYPD inspector Paul Morrow. Paul, thank you for joining us. Look, this Army base covers nearly 280,000 acres. What does that kind of containment look like?
Well,
we know the suspect is in custody, but what would that protocol look like as a lockdown is called into place and an active shooter on the loose?
Well, the first thing to recognize is the jurisdiction here is federal, right? So it's going to be an internal thing right from the get-go with Army CID having the ticket on the investigation. So the response that you're talking about, that'll be the authorities that are on the base. They'll have protocols. They'll even have protocols worked out with the local police. There'll be these mutual agreements that they have as to
it's called a mass casualty incident.
Sometimes they work together. If there is a hook outside the base, let's say somebody's running narcotics into the base or something like that. These bases are huge. They're like mini cities. And so they have to work all this stuff out ahead of time. And they get these kinds of cases. But in the investigatory stage, as I said, it'll go likely to CID unless we have an instance of terrorism, in which case the FBI, by presidential executive order, goes over to the FBI. And all of this matters because we've seen this kind of thing before. 2009, during the real sort of heyday of the metastasization of Al-Qaeda, we had the Fort Hood shooting, Major Nadal. And I raised that just to pinpoint maybe how lucky we were in this instance, because on an Army base, you have very heavy weaponry. You have really heavy ordnances, and these people are trained to shoot to kill. That's what soldiers do. And in that case, we had 13 fatalities and over 30 wounded, including some of the local cops who responded and were completely outgunned. That was a case of terrorism. The Obama administration didn't want to classify it as such. It went down as workplace violence, and there was a lot of hubbub about it. I was working counterterrorism at the time and was quite incredulous, and that was a story, a case that we studied very closely. So all of these vectors are blowing through this thing. When you see something like this, if you're sitting where I am, having done that kind of work, you think, is it a terrorism incident? Is it something that could have been interdicted? Was there some indicia ahead of time that maybe there was some psychological issues? All of these are after effects, obviously. These are things.
So this dude's a straight up fucking piece of shit soldier. Even before this, he got a DUI back in May. It's on his record. I looked it up, which is weird that it got put on there that quick. However, he was able to hide it from his unit for almost 2 months. And I think they found out and were about to get the process of kicking his sorry ass out of the Army. So like a piece of shit and coward that, some of these soldiers are, they try to take the easy way out. And unfortunately for him, he did not kill himself. Now he has to take the repercussions of his actions.
That you think about in retrospect, because the most important thing, of course, as you say, is to lock it down, make sure life and limb are preserved, that everybody is safe, and that you interdict the immediate threat.
Emily, we do have some new information on the people shot. So I want to jump into that. There have been 5 soldiers who were shot today in this active shooter incident in the 2nd Armored Brigade Combat Team area. All soldiers were treated on site and moved to Wynn Army Community Hospital for further treatment. There is no active threat to the community. Law enforcement was dispatched for the possible shooting in the 2nd, what I just called Armored Brigade Combat Team area. And Emily gave the timeline a little while ago, and so we know how quickly this moved. So that was at 10:56 a.m. local, then 11:35 a.m. they apprehended the suspected shooter. The installation was locked down 11:04, and Fort Stewart has now lifted the lockdown.
Yeah, when they put these bases on lockdown, good luck getting in or off the fucking base. It ain't happening.
Of the main containment area, and that happened a few minutes ago, actually. We were waiting for this press release to come out, and so we could see some things that were unconfirmed, and now we can put those on the record. The area of the shooting, that 2nd Armored Brigade Combat Team area, remains on lockdown at this.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for joining us. This morning, shortly before 11 o'clock, an active duty soldier assigned to Fort Stewart, Georgia, shot and wounded 5 of his fellow soldiers here on Fort Stewart. Thankfully, all are in stable condition and all are expected to recover. The alleged shooter is in custody. We have reestablished security. I have lifted all lockdown measures on Fort Stewart, and there is currently no threat to the local community. I'd like to recognize and thank our Army law enforcement and medical personnel and our partners from local, state, and federal law enforcement and emergency services for their quick response and support. I would also like to thank the brave soldiers who immediately intervened and subdued the shooter. These soldiers, without a doubt, prevented further casualties.
Yep.
Our wounded soldiers were initially evacuated to Wynn Army Community Hospital right here on Fort Stewart. All arrived in stable condition, and 3 of the 5 required surgical intervention. 2 have been transported to Memorial Hospital in Savannah, Georgia for additional care. We have identified the alleged shooter as Sergeant Cornelius Radford, an automated logistics sergeant assigned.
So not to be, racist or anything, but this sergeant was a black supply officer or NCO. And unfortunately, that sometimes means low IQ because of the job. And well, I really feel like he was about to get his dick slammed in a door and he thought he could take the easy way out. Like a fucking coward.
To 2nd Brigade Combat Team. Sergeant Radford has not previously deployed to combat. Well, Sergeant Radford has been interviewed by the Army Criminal Investigation Division and is currently in pretrial confinement awaiting a charging
non-commissioned officer. So this guy right here talking, he's a general, and they're typically officers, which means they came in the Army already having college or they went through ROTC or West Point. So those are typically called officers. Non-commissioned officers, NCOs, are typically the enlisted ranks. So NCOs are known as the backbone of the Army. So if it wasn't for us, shit wouldn't get done. We get the mission from our officers, but we make everything happen. I don't know why I'm saying we anymore. I'm retired.
By the Office of the Special Trial Counsel. Right now, our primary
focus Angela, I believe they were probably part of his leadership, or he may have thought that they snitched on him.
On caring for our injured soldiers and their families, and also supporting the soldiers of the Spartan Brigade. All of the families of the victims have been notified, and we're wrapping our arms around them and ensuring we provide them all the support that we can. Before I take questions, I want to remind you that this is an ongoing investigation, and we're still gathering questions. And ladies and gentlemen, I'll now take your questions.
General Lewis with the Postal News. Can you give us what unit he was assigned to and how long he served in the Army? If you didn't mention that.
Yeah, he is assigned to one of our sustainment units here in 2nd Brigade Combat Team at Fort Stewart. And I will have to confirm how long he served with us. Yes, sir.
He's had at least one station at Hood, one station or there.
Can you walk us through where this happened, what happened in the shooting, and were the victims subordinate to the sergeants, or were they people over him in rank?
Yeah, right now it's premature, and we're gathering a lot of the information. What we know is this soldier, the shooting occurred at the soldier's place of work. It did involve his co-workers. We're still not certain about the motivations, but again, he's been interviewed by Army investigators, and we believe we'll gain more information here shortly. Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. We don't have any reason to believe it had anything to do with a training event. Other than that, I can't state the motivations for this soldier.
It was his personal weapon.
May have been from Jacksonville, Florida area. We confirm that. We also heard that he had maybe been arrested for a DUI recently.
Yeah, at this point, I can't confirm where.
Actually, it happens more often than you think. Fort Hood, for sure. There was one, I don't know if it was in Georgia or South Carolina or North Carolina. The dude literally walked up on the parade field as the commander was giving a briefing and shot him. This is not uncommon.
He's from. We can follow up on that. I do believe he was arrested locally for a DUI. That was unknown to his chain of command until the event occurred, and we started looking into the law enforcement databases.
Robin, now from the current, can you tell us whether or not that was a military weapon or whether this was a personal weapon that the person brought on base?
Yes, ma'am. I can confirm it was not a military weapon, and we believe it was a personal handgun. Yes, sir.
What was this mean for ongoing security measures?
Yeah, I'm very confident in the security of this installation. We've got a great partnership with local law enforcement. As you can see here at our gates, we have armed guards and protective equipment. This one's a bit difficult, and we're going to have to determine how he was able to get a handgun to his place of duty.
Not that hard.
Has the suspect had any prior disciplinary or behavior?
Because most soldiers that, I don't know if he lived in the barracks or not. If he lived in the barracks, he probably just kept it in his car. If he lived in housing, they're allowed to keep it in their houses. I used to carry guns on post all the time. Sometimes I carried them to work for shit like this. I was in recruiting when that Chattanooga recruiting station got shot up. That was literally one of the stations in my battalion. So of course we were on fucking high alert.
No, ma'am, not that we're aware of. But again, it's early in the investigation, but not that I'm currently aware of.
That's one of the reasons the Army and the VA decided I was mentally unstable outside the Army. So that's why I have 100% disability, because I'm just that loose of a cannon. But I'm not going to be one of these guys that go and create a mass shooting, because I'm smarter than it. I have more pride. And the only time I'm going to fuck shit up is if you affect my family. Or you're a pedophile. And in that case, I want to send you to Europe so I can feed you their zoo animals.
I don't have the details on that, but I know that his soldiers in the area that witnessed the shooting immediately and without hesitation tackled the soldier, subdued him.
See? Remember when I always said that I wouldn't run away? I would run towards it and try to subdue the guy? That's our first instinct.
Allowed law enforcement to then take him into custody.
And we've got time for one more question.
I know that you can't.
Don't worry about it, Smashley. I talk about it all the time because it gets bad. And sometimes it's real good. My buddy called me yesterday and his was acting up. We talked for like 3 hours and he was much better.
To the motivation, but if this turns out to be some situation where somebody had extremist beliefs or maybe classified as a terrorist attack, I mean, how does that change the basis for response or the basis of investigation moving forward?
Yeah, currently we have no reason to believe any of that is the case. However, we continuously assess the threat environment, both in the immediate area and across our Army and DoD installations, and we will address the threat level accordingly.
Could have been a safety.
Yes, sir. He was a sergeant.
So that was from the garrison commander. I doubt he was 3rd ID's commander because he's only a 1-star. So he was either the deputy CG or he was garrison. Not that, I'm sorry, you guys are probably not. I'm talking foreign languages to you guys. I'm sorry.
We continue following breaking news out of South Georgia, where a sergeant is accused of shooting 5 fellow soldiers this morning at Fort Stewart.
We are now getting a first look at the suspected shooter. This is a photo of 28-year-old Cornelius Radford from a previous arrest in Liberty County, Georgia. This from May. Army leaders say other troops tackled Radford after he started shooting. Zach
started doing these
reporting on what else we've learned so far
streams, Ashley.
We now know the name of the suspect, Sergeant Cornelius Radford, for the shooting that injured 5 people at Fort Stewart behind me here. This is the front gate. I'll step out here as I give you some more of the details that you can look as cars start to matriculate their way back onto the base after it was locked down for several hours earlier this morning and into the early afternoon. We found out from a commander general of the base that Sergeant Radford worked at an annex at the farthest part of the base from where we are now, really way up at the north end, and that the shooting involved where he worked on the base and people that he worked with. However, they would not go into any kind of motive. That's still under investigation at this point. But the 5 injured, we know that 3 were taken. They needed some sort of surgery after the shooting, but all 5 are expected to recover, and their families have been notified at this point. And the Commander General gave us an update as to what's going to be going on next.
Sergeant Radford has been interviewed by the Army Criminal Investigation Division and is currently in pre-trial confinement, awaiting a charging decision by the Office of the Special Trial Counsel. Right now, our primary focus is first on caring for injured soldiers and their families, and also supporting the soldiers of the Spartan Brigade.
I asked after the briefing if Sergeant Radford had any injuries from the shooting, and they said that that is unclear at this point. You can see that the front gate here to Fort Stewart has reopened, and all those lockdowns have been lifted. At Fort Stewart, Zach Wilcox.
Let's move to Georgia now, because investigators are trying to figure out how an active duty serviceman brought his personal gun into Fort Stewart.
Oh yeah, I wanted to place because, like I said, I can bring a gun on post. They don't do vehicle inspection. They don't do 100%. They maybe do 10% every once in a while, but I've gotten my guns on post easily, both rifles and pistols. So it's not that hard.
And injuring 5 soldiers. Fort Stewart's commander says 3 victims required surgery, but all 5 will survive. He added witnesses tackled and subdued the suspect, who is now in custody. Authorities identified the suspected gunman as 28-year-old Cornelius Radford, an automated logistics specialist from Jacksonville, Florida. He's currently in pre-trial confinement. Now, this morning, the Secretary of the U.S. Army honored the soldiers that sprang into action following those immediate shots. One of the soldiers threw the suspected gunman down. Another jumped on top of
these guys right here. These are the ones that, oh wow, there's a few of them. All right. So these are the ones that helps to do the shooter in this situation. So they're getting awards from the Secretary of the Army. I'm assuming right now they're going to be ARCOMs, but they're probably going to upgrade them to the Soldier's Medal, which is one of the highest peacetime medals we can get in the Army. It's the equivalent of the Medal of Honor, but obviously it's not combat. So if you save lives or anything like that, that's how it works.
Suspect to subdue him, and then 4 others tended to those who had gotten shot. Here they are.
The sergeant first. Oh, they got an MSM.
We heard what sounded like gunshots. We immediately had medical services, combat medics, myself and Sergeant Taylor respond.
I'm sorry, what did he say?
Services, combat medics, myself and Sergeant Taylor respond. We have rendered aid to those individuals, and shortly after EMS arrived and continued their jobs. Really didn't process.
Kind of sounded like he said combat medics. Just saying. The best job in the entire military.
Said it was a gunshot at first, and then it took a moment to kick in that was a gunshot. That was a gunshot. And I started yelling through the hallways, there was a gunshot.
I was in my office, which was at the opposite end of the building, and I was just checking my email, and I heard First Sergeant Arnold yelling that there was a gunshot that went off. I didn't personally hear the gunshot, but I heard him yelling it, so I popped out to the hallway to see what was going on, and I heard him yelling about there being smoke, and I saw the smoke at the end of the hallway, and I noticed there was a soldier laying on the ground, so I immediately sprinted over to the soldier and started rendering aid. He had been shot, and so I was rendering aid to him while First Sergeant started calling for medics.
Wow. Quick thinking and action there. Army officials also gave an update on the conditions of the injured soldiers. Listen.
Safety of your patient is first, which is why we have pistols. If you get close enough for a medic to be shooting at you, there's something wrong, because you have a bunch of other guys with rifles and trucks around you.
Of the 500 soldiers, 3 were released yesterday, which is amazing considering the circumstances and the ranges in which they were engaged. 1 soldier remains as an inpatient here at Wayne Army, right here on Fort Stewart. She's doing very well and in high spirits. Of course, she's got a little bit.
Oh no, not that fat ass. That fat ass was rendering aid until the medics got there.
She may be released as early as this weekend, but that will just depend on how things heal up over the next couple days. And we have 1 soldier that remains at Savannah Memorial Community Hospital.
What up, Yeti?
Secretary this morning. She's got a little bit longer road to recovery. The doctors are very positive, but I think it's going to take her a bit longer to recover. But they're very hopeful she's going to make a complete recovery.
Now let's bring in CBS News correspondent Skylar Henry. He is live in Fort Stewart. Skylar, thank you for joining us. You were listening there as those Army officials and soldiers responded to the situation.
Yes, Angela, you'd expect it to be safe. The expectation is you have nothing to worry about except for maybe a fist fight or a stabbing or, anything like that. But that rarely ever happens in uniform, and stabbings rarely ever happen on post. Most of the time, the shit's done off post. What's up, Donovan? Like I said, you can own guns in the military. You can own guns if you live on post. You can own guns if you live in the barracks, but you can't have them in your car or room. You have to go to the arms room and sign them out every time you want to go to the range. But you still expect to be safe. But then you always have these not once in a lifetime. You have these fucking cowards that want to come on base and do stupid shit like this, because that's exactly what they are. Cowards. Smashley? Unfortunately, that's not true. I deployed 3 times before I even had a son.
Did you get a sense of what security is like at the Army base and how all of this unfolded?
Yeah, as it relates to posture, nothing's changed. The question was asked, as a matter of fact, to leadership.
Yeah, that sole survivor thing, it's not. No, it doesn't exist anymore. Because, like I said, I deployed 3 times before I had my son.
As to whether they will change
I was actually
anything
deployed
going
when he
forward
was
to
born.
prevent something like this from happening again. They say that they felt ensured of the level of security that it takes to get on the base in the first place. They did say that it is still relatively early in the investigation, and they will likely go back and review certain things, obviously, as the rest of...
No, I finally had a son after my 3rd deployment. But I'm saying, it doesn't exist. It was at one point. And I think that was more right around like World War II and Vietnam. But not anymore.
Who are on base to see if they could have done anything differently. That includes allowing a personal handgun to get onto the base in the first place, which, according to officials at that press conference, said that that's not typically protocol. As for what we heard from those soldiers who were able to quickly respond to the situation, we actually spoke to 2 of them. One of whom, who you heard from their first sergeant, one of the first sergeants that were there on the scene, who said that he rendered aid to 3 of
Well, you shouldn't have to worry unless he volunteers to join the military, because there's not going to be a draft. As you can see right now, it's an all-volunteer force, and just this year alone, the U.S. military in general, all branches, have reached their quota for the entire year, which ends October 1st. So everything they've gotten over that, it's been money, because people are joining every day.
those who were needing of assistance at the time, ultimately playing the role of traffic cop, if you will, making sure that everyone was treated as quickly as possible before emergency medical services were able to get on the scene. And then we also spoke with another soldier who was rewarded
and retention's
for his
at an all-time
heroism,
high.
Sergeant Aaron Turner, who just was newly assigned to this base back in October, recently lost his mother and was still trying to process that when he got wind of what was happening on base. He said that he tried to talk down the suspected gunman, Cornelius Radford, using that de-escalation training that he's had years of practice with, and ultimately he was unsuccessful. So he then grabbed the barrel of his handgun and was able to subdue him before other soldiers were able to then help with that, before other law enforcement officials were able to get.
Did you know that you can prevent a gun from firing just by holding the barrel? But you have to push it back before he gets a chance to shoot. That way you can try to disarm him.
To the scene. We spoke with both of them. Both of them say that they are still taking their time processing this situation. Yeah. They say that they've had to turn off the television, turn off social
not the
media,
barrel,
and just
the
really
slide.
Sort of sit down with their
Not the
families
barrel.
to collect their thoughts here, because it's only been about 24 hours or so. But they say that ultimately training kicked in, and they did what they have been trained to do for years in the military. We asked if you would experience or expect anything like this to happen to what they refer to as a teammate, a fellow soldier.
But you're always ready.
They say they haven't processed that part of it yet, as you can imagine. But again, rewarded for their heroism. The Brigadier General, who is the commander here at this base, said that if it weren't for what they did, they feel as if more lives could have potentially have been lost.
Yeah, some very, very quick thinking and bravery on their part. Skylar, what else are we learning about the investigation and the suspected shooter?
Yeah, on two fronts here, we know that at some point, the suspected gunman Cornelius Radford will make his way into a military court system. No details yet in terms of timing, or for that matter, what he would be charged with. As it relates to how they are investigating the scene, we did hear from one of the special agents in charge of this investigation, who went on to say that they will be assessing the crime scene, shell casings, trying to get background interviews and statements to try to put the pieces together in terms of what led up to the shooting. They're also continuing to do more background work.
I mean, I could, but I also thought about doing like first aid. Like the first aid I would teach soldiers, and then maybe a little more, but I'm not going to actually crike somebody, but I can talk you through the process. Even now. What's up, Gilf?
To try to get more information about the suspected gunman Radford in the first place. Remember, he was arrested for DUI in May. They only found out about that because of what happened yesterday in terms of doing background information checks, in terms of looking into his whereabouts. They also say that they are going to try to trace and track down any sort of communications.
Yeah, you're right about the eyes.
Any sort of incidents that he might have had, or disturbances with his fellow co-workers leading up to the shooting.
Maybe if somebody
again,
slapped
try to
it
get
back
to the
into
bottom
place.
of a motive here. But all of those who we heard from today, and that includes the Secretary of the Army as well as the Brigadier General and those soldiers, they ultimately say the training kicked in. This is what those who
Always
are
a
here at Fort
tourniquet.
Stewart are trained to do, and they will continue to move
That's
forward
the
and
most
obviously
important thing.
celebrate that they were able to save lives yesterday.
Yeah, when the time came, that training really, really helped out.
And it's funny because you think about shootings on post versus mass shootings at like a mall or a Walmart. Things like that is completely different outcome.
Sure.
All right. Now let's get away from that before we head into some random stuff. And then we're going to get to State Department, who knew he was dating possible CCP spy. And it's not Swalwell this time. But we're going to take a little break for some humor. And if you guys have never watched LA City Council meetings, when it comes to public comments, Jesus fucking Christ, it's insane. And it happens every day, which makes it even worse. So we're just going to give a 5-minute view of what happens.
What in the heck is going on at LA City Council meetings?
This was August 1st.
First, let's listen to a screeching liberal woman who melted down over ICE.
Do not start my time until I have everybody's attention. Nope, you restart that.
These stitch closures, I'm gonna tell you right now, those aren't new, but the zip tie portions are. But we had a different kind we called sturdy strips, and we used tincture to keep it in place better, like a glue almost.
I took off work. You guys work for us, and nobody is paying attention. Hi.
Hello.
You work for us.
Okay.
And we have a comment. We need you to listen. I understand that this is typically like your job as Parks and Rec. That is not what this is right now. We are in a state of emergency. The actual mayor declared that. And we are here asking you to pay attention. You have had a summer break. You know who's not had a summer break? Don't roll your fucking eyes at me. I see you.
Whoa.
You know who's not had a summer break? The protesters, the citizens of LA who are terrified. You know what we're not hearing you talk about? In 2 weeks, school is back in session. 50% of the students in LA do not feel safe going to school.
Well,
why are
most
you
of them are
talking about that?
protesters.
Why is no one having a town hall? Seattle, their police chief instructed their police to protect the citizens. Why can't you? Why can't the LAPD be on our side? We want LAPD on our side. I'm not done.
Whoa.
I'm not done. Our fight is with ICE. Our fight is not with LAPD. We do not want to be fighting with them. We want them on our side.
No.
We're now disrupting the meeting because
we have this thing called benzoin tincture. It smells weird, but it's kind of like an acquired smell that once you smell it and you like it, you want to smell it even more. But you put that on both sides of the skin, and it makes it strengthens it like so much better. It's kind of like a battlefield thing. Because you're not going to go out in the middle of combat zone and fucking do sutures. But closing the wound is the least of my worries when I was doing my job. That's why I said the most important thing is a tourniquet. Because if they're bleeding from their limbs, you want to completely shut off those blood vessels or those arteries, because you can bleed out real quick. That's why it's most important to take care of the limbs first and then worry about the breathing. Trust me, we developed what the EMS today uses.
we cannot continue with public comment.
Where would we be without our liberal women? Let's take a listen to this quick liberal meltdown.
I'm here today speaking as someone whose roots run deep in the soil of resistance. This is directed to all my black and brown people in the room, including police officers. You wear the uniform, but the uniform doesn't protect you from history. You wear the badge, but the badge doesn't absolve you of blood. You speak our language, but your orders come in white. White power, white fear, whitewashed laws dressed up as safety. What they're really trying to do is erasing black and brown history from classrooms so our children forget who and where they came from and what we survived.
I don't know. You live in LA, but if you go to Florida, Ron DeSantis has a whole curriculum for Black history. Like the real Black history. So that's on your state.
Now, what you're about to see might be satire, but because this is LA, it's super hard to make that determination. What do you think?
Thank you very much, Council City Attorney Dana. Start with item number 1.
Pardon me, sir. What language are you speaking? Pardon me, what language are you speaking? If you can't tell us what language you're in, I'm going to assume that you're off topic.
Whoa, that's racist. Sounds Korean.
Now move on to item number 19.
He is, actually. I said these city council meetings are fucking wild. used to smoke, just sit here, smoke weed, and watch these motherfuckers. Look at the monster guy in the back.
Now, I would like to inform our council president smoking scan discrimination
If you
issues
haven't
that
seen Smoke and Scan, Google him on YouTube. Smoke and Scan will go over these shits too. And obviously, Smoke and Scan, you get me? You feel me?
my friend Dana said that she only likes our 24-inch.
I'm assuming Spencer's. Because that's where we used to get the funny, fucked up shirts as a kid, right? Oh, wait, not that one. Oh, that one. Wait, what are we talking about? Wait, women get their nails done? That's weird. I mean, my wife gets her nails done, but I never. I'm saying, like, should I care? I mean, I already paid for them.
Attorney, and she does not like 3-inch shrimp. That really hurts my feeling. And I believe in the city of Los Angeles, and I believe that nobody should be discriminated just because I'm transgender, just because I'm illegal immigrants, just because I am a 3-time transgender recipient award, whatever, transgender of the year, whatever you call it. So I really make sure that my friend Dana can look at me, not only just look at her favorite 24-inch city attorney. Thank you. Everyone, equality.
Hong Kong, Cheech and Chong, Chong Wong, Du Du.
Okay, so this is not on the agenda. You need to stick to the agenda items, or I'm going to move you to general public comment.
Thank you, Yeti. Thank you, Yeti. Like I said, it's an acquired, but once you get it, you want to smell it.
Mental Commissioner to report to our duty to approve. Present February BOHC.
Sounds Filipino.
OHC. Well, fuck! Donald Trump supports tariffs, and I support Donald Trump. More tariffs, more tariffs.
We'll get into the tariffs again in a minute.
Fucking tariffs. We have this issue here regarding the mayor. What did she do about the 405 freeway fires? Where was her concern of safety then? The fucking Sambo black mayor was doing caca. I'll translate that. Google, Google, Google. Google, Google, Google. Shit!
Yo, Smashley, it's funny you should say that. My 22nd anniversary is next month. But we've been together 24 years, so it's kind of, it's weird. It's weird.
She hasn't done shit! Just like the rest of you worthless piece of shits!
I'm taking it he doesn't like the mayor. Oh, 12-year-olds is completely different from what I was thinking. Oh, woo! Well, thank you, Smashley, and congratulations to you as well. Thank you, Gilf. I don't know how she does it. I'm like God's gift to her, so, she's got to put up with me. I don't know if I would, but she does. She deserves a medal, but it's her job. Uh-oh, do I sound...
Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. wants junk food stripped from SNAP.
Yeah, this is...
Oh! Junk food stripped from SNAP. I've talked about this before. Why is that such a bad thing? Isn't SNAP supposed to be nutritional supplement? Which in turn would make you think it's nutritional? Huh? But they want fluoride in the water.
Part of President Trump's plan to make America healthy again. Nearly a dozen states have agreed to the limits. Fox 35's Mike Emanuel has more.
The National Mall was turned into a bustling farmers market Monday, part of the Trump administration's effort to make America healthy again.
We need to lighten up some regulations that allow way more local food to be eaten.
And the administration is going further, approving more waivers allowing states to ban certain junk foods from the list paid for by the SNAP program, formerly known as food stamps.
Today, I'm proud to sign 6 more waivers for Florida, West Virginia, Oklahoma, Texas, Louisiana, and Colorado.
The Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, or SNAP, served more than 41 million people and cost $100 billion in 2024. Before the waivers, the funds could not be used to buy products such as alcohol, tobacco, or prepared foods. In May, Nebraska became the first state to get approval to also restrict soda and energy drinks. Proponents of the waivers, including Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr., say they will incentivize Americans to eat healthier.
If you want to buy...
He wants America to be healthy, but all people can think about is his anti-vax stance. I'll tell you, if he's anti-vax, why is he pushing and making it to where they're taking away mercury, taking away the mercury from the vaccines? You know, the ones that are cancerous, the ones that probably make people sicker, he's taking that away. He's not taking vaccines away. He's not taking away the schedule. Well, he is kind of taking the schedule, making it more of a voluntary thing, but then he's taking away certain chemicals they put in our food that other countries have made illegal, which make them more addictive and more appealing to the eyes. And one of the things they were talking about is cereal. So the brighter the cereal, the more they think they're appealing to kids. And guess where that's? America.
A sugary soda, you ought to be able to do that. But the U.S. taxpayer should not pay for it.
But industry groups like the National Grocers Association raised concerns the waivers could cause confusion among consumers, saying it's up to the government, quote, to determine whether their goals are being met without negatively affecting access to nutritious food. This year's...
So can't they have it set up? I know this might sound weird. Because I know when we had WIC, we had like checks, and it tells you exactly what you can and can't buy. Now they have these debit cards. So why can't with these debit cards they put a hold on shit they're not supposed to buy? Because I know when I had my government travel card, they cut off anything that wasn't related. So you couldn't go to a strip club, you couldn't go watch movies, even though some people would take the money out and pay for movies. And with SNAP, you can't take money off the card. So why can't the card and a computer system with all this AI say, yeah, that's not allowed, that's not allowed, that's not allowed. So you're going to have to pay for these items.
SNAP has served a monthly average of 42 million Americans with about $188 in benefits per person. In Washington, Mike Emanuel, Fox News.
The more the left
Fox News
freaks out about ICE, the more we know we're winning. As today, down in San Diego, California.
So we're going to tell you, he's going to tell you the story, but I'm going to tell you, I don't know if it was in his story, but Penske Trucks is pretty upset that this truck was used to conduct a raid. So why? Do they not believe in the legal system?
This guy took to social media to shame Homeland Security operating in the area.
Get a close look at their faces. You guys know how to do the AI facial recognition. Here's his eyes. The people who signed up to rip families apart. These are the cars, you guys. Make sure you're keeping an eye out for these specific vehicles in our neighborhoods.
So the same day in Los Angeles, Border Patrol popped out of a Penske moving truck to raid a Home Depot.
You arrested someone illegally. Why? I'm allowed to be here. I'm stopping you from breaking the law.
And as they make these arrests, it's insane to think this scene is from America, not some third world country. But for some reason, the official Penske trucking company wanted to chime in, stating, as they are now aware of the feds using their truck, they will let DHS know they prohibit the use of transportation of people in the cargo area, as they did not authorize their use. To which they were absolutely destroyed in their replies. As people pointed out, why make a comment about ICE using their trucks, but not the traffickers, as we never would have noticed, but there has been a history of Penske trucks being used to smuggle migrants without a single statement that I can remember about it. All Penske had to do is keep their mouth shut and provide trucking services, but someone from their social media team just had to make it clear whose side they're on politically, as if they could legitimately make an impact on ICE operations in the country, as DHS could simply switch to U-Haul, Enterprise, or any one of their many competitors, alongside all the people that—
You know what company had a huge downfall and pretty much had to close? Maybe a decade later, though. But remember Ryder Trucking Company? You know, the big yellow Ryder trucks? I wonder what happened in history that,
don't want to support a company that thinks we should not enforce our border laws. And aside from that, on ICE's behalf, this is actually kind of genius. The Los Angeles Times classified this as a Trojan horse showing up to a Home Depot, as anybody evading law enforcement not only has to worry about all the unmarked cars raiding them, but now has to question whenever a moving truck pulls up nearby. Once again proving that no matter what the left tries to do to stop these ICE operations, it only ends up making it worse for themselves.
You know what they should use? And they will never see this coming. Hollow out a food truck, right? And they're going to think it's a food truck. Roll up on them and boom, gotcha.
As that ICE raid happened at a Westlake Home Depot just a couple blocks away from MacArthur Park, where less than a month ago, ICE showed up. As LA's Mayor Karen posted this video, outrage at the feds showing up on horseback waving American flags. So she rushed over to make an appearance, demanding that they leave.
They need to leave, and they need to leave right now. They need to leave because this is unacceptable.
But as Kevin Dalton pointed out, where's Mayor Karen now?
Deadly shooting. It happened on Wilshire Boulevard and Westlake Avenue about 3 this morning.
As right in between her publicity stunt at the park and the Home Depot that got raided today is the intersection where that guy got shot. It's almost like Mayor Karen's outrage over ICE was just for social media, as one, it only increased ICE activity in the area, and two, it doesn't look like she really cares about actual residents of Los Angeles, as LAPD has been desperately understaffed for years now, and the only thing she seemed concerned about was making sure the feds/military couldn't be seen securing the city. But the most ironic part about all of this is that original post from San Diego was crying about tearing families apart.
Still ripping families apart. The people who signed up to rip families apart.
So today, the official DHS account frames joining ICE as a way for fathers and sons to bond, taking away the age cap for—
Did you know Dean Cain is a Border Patrol member? Yeah. He's part of the Border Patrol.
Recruitment, which is just a day after they used a South Park meme to portray ICE in a good light, as they're trying to add 10,000 new ICE agents with a $50,000 signing bonus and a $60,000 student loan repayment.
Oh, shit.
They haven't even hired them, and CNN already reports historic immigration numbers.
We may be dealing with, get this, negative net migration to the United States in 2025. That would be the first time there is negative net migration in this country in at least 50 years. We're talking about down from 2.8 million.
We're going to win so much, you may even get tired of winning. And you'll say, please,
Please, it's too much winning. And I'll say, no, it isn't. We have to keep winning. We have to win more.
I really wonder if the left looks at all the protesting, all the destruction of their own cities, and the pepper bowls they took to the face in the name of the Democrats' promises that they'll stop Donald Trump's immigration policies, and thought, maybe we won't win this. Maybe we should stop supporting a political party that provides nothing other than their 13th year of saying Orange Man bad. But that,
you know, since the funding was cut from USAID, where have all these protests gone? These ICE raids are still happening, but the protests that you see are like old white people in Florida. I don't think they're still doing these protests because now there's no money. Antifa has to actually get a job. Oh, let's go to the Chicago mayor, you know, one of the most elite piece of shit of any city.
The question. Straight to the question.
I didn't even start the question. Interrupting me before I start a question is kind of a violation of my First Amendment rights. You know that, right? Mayor Johnson, you really should talk to your press secretary. I mean, it doesn't make you look strong to have them interrupting my questions. It really doesn't. Mayor Johnson, yesterday you took a very thinly veiled swipe at Governor Pritzker for prioritizing and harboring the Democrat lawmakers from Texas over the residents of the South and West Side.
There should be no reason why we don't do everything in our power to ensure that Illinois shows up for Illinoisans. In fact, as much as I appreciate Illinois helping out people from Texas, the South Side and the West Side could use that same level of energy.
Now, when I watched this the first time, I was like, wait a second. Did he say something I agree with? Holy fuck, am I turning into a communist?
Yet, real people on the South and West Side contact me every day and say that they feel that your spending on migrants, putting Chicago in a $1 billion budget gap,
Time to get to the question.
has harmed them. What do you say to those people?
Well, first of all, the investments that I will continue to make, particularly in communities that have been historically left out, we will continue to do that. $1.25 billion investment for housing and economic development. We just put forth another $40 million to expand and develop the infrastructure around homelessness. We've invested in over 30,000 summer youth jobs. We'll continue to make those investments. Look, the less than 1% of the overall budget that we responded to based upon the unholy and ungodly efforts and acts of the governor of Texas.
He wants to make investments, but he's broke. This is the same guy that tried to take a high interest loan from China to a $30 million loan to fund the Chicago's teachers union, to which he's also a member of.
We did the righteous thing by responding. It's very clear that we did the right thing responding to this mission. Because this is a governor in Texas that can't figure out, quite frankly, how to respond to natural disasters, right? This is a governor who
That's
is
funny because the more and more of these Democrats are staying away, that's one of the votes on that they're supposed to talk about. Funding for these floods. But no. They want to flee the states saying, we need to save democracy when your own people are fucking hurting.
Working hard to eliminate the power of black and brown people. I'm always going to stand up against those efforts, and as a city, we're going to continue to build the safest, most affordable big city in America.
National Democrats are pointing to you as an example of why the candidacy of New York mayoral candidate Zohran Mamdani would be a disaster for New York and for the rest of the country. They say,
question.
Mayor Johnson is proof that
we need the question.
Not all grammar school social studies teachers are not qualified to run for mayor. That your
we're going to need the question. We're going to have to keep moving.
Budget deficit is an example of failed policies. What do you say to the National Democrat?
He's trying to make it the most affordable city in the world. But as of this month, the fall between $1,800 to $2,400 per month. That's crazy. Yes and no, because my mortgage is less than that. But then again, I also live in Tennessee. But how's that affordable? How's that affordable?
Leaders who are pointing to you as an example of incompetence.
Yeah, 32% reduction in homicides, 38% reduction in shootings, 38% reduction in shooting victims. We have, some of the greatest numbers of airport interaction than we've seen ever in the history of our city. We have more people moving to the city of Chicago. We're on pace to build 10,000 more affordable units. Look, the city of Chicago.
So you have more people moving to Chicago. May I ask what their legal status is?
Chicago has long been the punching bag of the extreme right. We know they have.
Yeah, you did.
But it's proof positive that we're.
All right, thank you.
I just want to finish answering the question here. It is clear if you were awake during the presentation, you would actually know how effective my leadership has been. Next time, won't you do us a favor and at least not nod off when we're actually giving the real people that you talk to the evidence of how we're building the safest, most affordable big city in America. Thank you. And get a.
However, it's still not safe or affordable.
App.
What is the biggest problem that Chicago is facing right now, if you say?
Mayor Johnson and that type of leadership. I mean, he makes Lori Lightfoot, who was a failed mayor,
he sure the fuck is,
look less bad. This mayor has spent almost $700 million.
If I remember right, he got in trouble. And I think it had something to do with filling Obama's seat in the Senate.
On illegal immigrants at the expense of the poor neighborhoods on the south and west side of Chicago.
Even the Chicago Tribune, lead editorial today, basically saying he's trying to come up with other ways to drive businesses out of Chicago. So many have already left. I guess Citadel left, went to Miami. Others are planning to leave because of high taxes. Now they're figuring out ways to add more corporate taxes onto businesses in Chicago.
It's almost clownish incompetence with the way he's running this city.
Yeah, but isn't that what he got in trouble for?
I'm so sick.
All right, so this is a reaction to a reaction, which, no. Okay, so this is from Columbia County. I don't even know what fucking state, anyway, it's probably from the coastal area. Oh, what the hell? You weren't supposed to see it. Yeah, that's what I thought, Roots. Because didn't he try to take bribes or some shit? It was such a long time ago that I don't remember the exact details around it.
In Columbia County tonight, shocking allegations, abuse, and poor living conditions after 9 children were taken from a home in Columbia County this week. At least one of those children often locked in a cage under a bed, according to court documents. Brian Griffith, his wife Jill, and their 2 adult children, Dallin and Liberty, have been charged with aggravated child abuse, and 9 underage children have been removed from their home. Riley Phillips joining us live now from outside the Columbia County Sheriff's Office in Lake City. And Riley, this all started with a tip by someone who works for a church.
Yes, a woman working at a local church camp reported her concerns with the way these children were being treated to the Department of Children and Families. DCF then got the Columbia County.
Roots? See? Almost like word for word. I remember things. And a lot of people don't remember that because it was typically just an Illinois thing.
Sheriff's Office involved. And what they found inside the children's home was enough to bring aggravated child abuse charges against the 4 adults living there. This double-wide trailer in Fort White now sitting empty. This was the home of the Griffith family. Brian and his wife Jill and their 2 adult children, 21-year-old Dallin and 19-year-old Liberty, are now in jail. Their arrest affidavits detail the concerns made by a woman working at a local church camp who saw one of their 9 other children bring in a taser. According to the report, the woman told the Department of Children and Families the family recently moved to the area from Arizona. She claimed the family primarily fosters or adopts African-American children, and these children children were being treated unfairly. The Columbia County
Whoa. So they had 9 black children. What the fuck?
Sheriff's Office confirmed the children range in ages from 7 to 16 years old. Of the 9 children, 5 were biological and 4 were adopted in Arizona. During interviews with DCF, one child said he was often caged under a bunk bed as punishment. Other children said they were also sprayed in the face with vinegar and their mom would press a sheet of plywood onto their backs as punishment. The report also states many of the children do not know how to read, and one child claims she hadn't attended school in over 5 years. Investigators also reached out to another child that was supposed to be in the Griffiths care, but was actually in Arizona with her biological mother. According to the affidavit, this child accused Brian and Dallin of sexual and physical.
Wait. If they were supposed to be in their care, that child was supposed to be in their care, how come it was with the biological mother? This shit's weird. This could have been a trafficking scheme.
Physical abuse. The children were taken into DCF custody on July 3rd and the adults were arrested Tuesday. And all 4 adults remain in jail, each on a $500,000 bond. I also reached out to the Department of Child Safety in Arizona to see if they've received any reports or allegations of abuse against the Griffiths. I'm still waiting to hear back. Live in Columbia County, Riley Phillips, First Coast News.
Get on top of that, Riley.
That's
crazy. Like, I guess they're okay with their biological kids, but those 9 kids, some of them were biological. And I assume the one they adopted were black. 9 of them, to be precise. Those 2, specifically, we need to send them to Europe to help feed those zoo animals. You guys know what I'm talking about, right? The zoo animal in, I think, Holland.
Still right in. We're going to answer these questions.
So remember what I said we're going to talk about tariffs again? Well, tariffs.
Towards the end of the interview here, but what questions do you have about tariffs or these tariff checks? Once again, scan that QR code in the top right-hand corner of your screen if you would like to weigh in. Let's bring in our expert. Joining us now is Raveen Gandhi. He is a tariff and economy expert and founder / former CEO of GMM Nonstick Coatings. Thank you so much for joining us here on Live Now from Fox this morning to break this all down for us. We appreciate it.
Oh, thanks a lot.
So I just read here some numbers. I'm going to read them again. So the White House praising these tariffs, as we've heard there. I just said, though, these tariffs have brought in $28 billion in July. But can you speak to the concern that these tariffs could be putting the cost more on the American taxpayer, the consumers, and the businesses? Can you speak to the other side of that?
Yeah, so, I built a company that served 40 million Americans every day called GMM, and we were very impacted by the tariffs in 2018 and 2019. And I was doing a lot of media back then complaining about the tariffs, saying this is going to crash the economy, saying it's going to cause a recession, saying it's going to cause inflation. But the reality is it didn't. And so now when President Trump enacted these, I have that firsthand experience where I don't actually believe that all of the doomsday people who are complaining about these things really have it right. Because
so if you look at this way it's set up, it looks like the stimulus. It looks like whatever Joe Biden had put in the not Big Beautiful Bill. The omnibus seems like it's the same thing every president has done at least once during their administration. $600 per adult per child. Family of 4 gets $2,400. All sounds the same, right?
The stock market.
Oh, I think the only thing that's different is, no, it's the same. The benefits reduced.
Is an all-time high right now. We've got companies beating earnings, and the economy's in a pretty strong place. So that's what I would say to people who are worried that all these terrible things are going to happen.
Yeah, and just on the other side of the coin here, because we do like to bring both sides to our audience here. So Americans expected to pay an average of 18.3% more for imported products, as I just shared before I brought you in here. These checks would be giving back $600 per adult. So could one make the argument, though, that if these rebate checks do happen, because again, this is still proposed right now, how beneficial is this really going to be for the taxpayer?
Well, I think that, as someone who has built these businesses that are very close to the consumer, what we know is that when the consumer has more capital in their pocket, there's more growth. I've seen that at GMM. I've seen that with all the recent startup deals that I invest in. And this is the key thing. This is maybe the first time ever where consumers would get a check in the mail, which is deficit neutral. This is the first time that we're talking about having money going to people that was not actually raised in our own treasury. So I think that that's a very important thing for people who may not even understand on Main Street, well, what is a tariff? But when they get a check in the mail, they're going to like that. And number two, when they come to understand that money actually came from foreign governments who are trying to sell into America, I think that it's going to be pretty pro-growth.
I want to talk about President Trump's recent comments on tariff rebate checks. Because, again, this was introduced because President Trump said, hey, we're looking into this. So how has this had influence on the financial markets? Has it had any influence?
When he initially
since he
talked
has
about this, I ignored it. But now it's coming out more and more. So I'm like, wait a second, maybe I will talk about it.
Stated this?
Well, yeah, I do think that, President Trump is all about what I like to call animal spirits. He wants people to feel good about investing in America. And so when he gives money to people based on the fact that he made a lot of other countries blink. When you see the deals that he struck with the EU and with Japan, these are historically asymmetrical deal in the favor of America. And to take some of that revenue and give it to people, I think that it's gonna create a lot of calmness in the market that nothing bad is going to happen.
How could this impact trade relations with other countries, though?
Well, look, if I am one of these rival countries right now that hasn't struck a deal with President Trump, this is going to make me that much likelier to negotiate. Because a lot of people in April, when Liberation Day, when the market sort of cratered, people thought, oh, Trump's just going to back off. But like you've said, we're at an 18% rate right now. And I think that compares to 2% last year. Trump is bringing in tens of hundreds of billions of dollars, and I don't think he's just going to turn that off. So I think that it's going to absolutely be positive from a game theory perspective. And, I'll also tell you, as someone who is kind of a fiscal hawk, I wish they would use all the money to pay down the debt. Yeah, but I think he's making a pretty smart political calculus here, because he rode in 2024 sort of as the Main Street president. And I think that this is a way where he wants to show his base that what I campaigned on, I'm actually delivering.
That would make more sense if you have a profit. Why not pay down debt? That would make it better for everyone in the long run. I think would make sense.
So we did ask our viewers to write in some questions here. I did want to get to those before we get back to our discussion here. So let's start bringing up these questions. Thank you to our viewers who did write in. So this question we touched on a little bit earlier here, but how much money can we expect? We do know it's going to be $600 per person, $2,400 per family. So we did touch on that a little bit already there, but maybe we have another question we can switch on. Thank you for writing in, Lay. Let's see. Do we have anything else? All right. When will citizens receive tax cuts in place of tariffs as promised by President Trump? Raveen, can you speak to that for us?
When will they receive tax cuts instead of tariffs or based on tariffs?
Well, let's see. This says, when will citizens receive tax cuts in place of tariffs as promised by President Trump? Could you just speak to maybe what President Trump has said in terms of tax cuts?
Yeah, he has said some things that are pretty amazing if they were to actually happen. He has floated the idea of not even having an income tax if tariff revenue continues to be high. And I believe he said it was for everyone making something under, it was either $100,000 or $200,000 would pay no tax. Now, I don't think that is going to happen. I mean, if it does, I think the sky's the limit, because Americans, his job approval rating will probably be 80% at that point. But I think that this sort of dividend that he's declaring is a good first step towards effectuating some actual relief to Main Street with tariffs. But, we'll see what has to happen in terms of Congress actually getting rid of the income tax.
A question I had for you, we saw these COVID rebate checks back when that was happening. But historically, have we seen anything like this come out of Congress in recent years or historically in terms of these rebate checks with tariffs? Because tariffs are really something that President Trump has really hit home on here, really something we haven't seen before with any other president.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, the COVID stuff was pretty unprecedented, both with Trump and Biden. We obviously had the Trump tax cuts. We had, like, going back to George W. Bush, we had tax cuts. But the key thing about this, and this is so important, deficit neutral. I mean, if there's something that people on both sides of this country believe, it is that we have way too much debt and no one on either side has done anything to fix it. And the fact that we can actually have dollars going to the hardworking Americans who deserve it most, and that money came from all of these other huge countries that want to sell to us the biggest, most dynamic economy in the world, that is historic.
All right, one of my last questions for you here is Senator Josh Hawley.
We're one of the youngest countries in the world, yet we control so much of it.
The one that proposed this bill. So again, this is still a proposal. We don't know if this is going to happen, but what are your thoughts? Do you think Americans are going to be getting some rebate checks?
It depends on if it passes. And I think that it's going to be how much can Hawley influence the people on the other side. And I can maybe just give you a little bit of my political story. I was a 20-year Democrat. I voted for every Democratic president, including Joe Biden. And after 20 years in 2024, I voted for President Trump. And the reason is, when I saw what Biden did on the border, with wokeism, with decriminalizing crime, and most importantly, the socialism that I see coming out of the Democratic Party, I find it unbelievable. And there's so many centrists like me who feel like we did not leave the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party left us. So I think that there's a whole bunch of people who are centrists who, from a constituent perspective, are very supportive of what this president is doing, because the media keeps screaming about how all of these things are going to ruin America and it's a dictatorship and he's taking over. It's complete.
But he's going to keep saying the same shit. Now that they can't use the economy's going to tank, you know what they're using? They're using this Epstein client list. Well, sorry, the client list doesn't exist. The Epstein files, which everybody already knows Donald Trump's in those files. It's well known. And I said this yesterday. Democrats only care about Trump in these files. Liberals only care about Trump in these files. Everyone else wants the other names of these suspects in these files. Not the victims. The scum of the earth that need to be taken to that zoo in Europe to help feed the animals.
Just because I'm plus size doesn't mean I'm not healthy.
Yes, it does.
Just get healthy and eat healthy and work out.
You'll love yourself.
I don't need to lose weight to generally love myself.
No one is saying that you have to hate yourself if you are overweight. You don't have to choose between loving yourself or accepting yourself to whatever degree and becoming healthy. Question for you. And I want to be clear about something. I challenge you to find us ever just going, this person's fat. That's not what this is about. The obesity epidemic in children is a very new thing as far as being this severe. Okay, and so sometimes when you're facing a problem, especially one that not only is currently a burden on our healthcare system, not only do we have the first generation who are expected to live a shorter lifespan than the previous generation, which really defies all of human history as far as what we have recorded, you have to ask yourself, okay, why? Why are people, when they have more access to healthy food, more access to information, the ability to exercise, gyms are more affordable than ever, home gyms are more affordable than ever, why are we living shorter? Why are we more unhealthy? And why, with the information superhighway, are we dumber? Right? Now, I can't answer the second one, public education. As far as the first one, I have a hunch. Maybe it's because this is the first time in human history where we have been telling everyone, hey, you're healthy at any size. It is all the same. The most important thing is that you feel good about your poor health.
You have any kids?
Hold on, pause. I can't see this, so
Okay, yeah, I can read it.
So for those listening, Josh, you because the screen's too small for me. All right, Josh, you can read this, and
You
let's
can
play
read it for all of us.
Yes, I have.
Yes, I genuinely love myself.
How many baby
But aren't you unhealthy? Don't you want to be skinny?
Ellipses, I see that.
Just because I'm plus size doesn't mean I'm not healthy.
Yes, it does.
Just get healthy and eat healthy and work out.
You'll love yourself.
I don't need to lose weight to genuinely love myself. But you don't look healthy. You are heavily obese.
And heavy.
Just because I'm heavy doesn't make me unhealthy. What do you not understand?
All of it?
Get it. If you're happy being, fat and obese, more power to you. I'm going to judge you. However, you should do some kind of physical activity for 30 minutes a day, such as walking your dog, because it may not help you lose weight. Well, it could. It's better for you. Your lungs, your heart, overall health becomes a little better the more and more you do it. And then you can choose longer walks. Just saying.
Apparently biology.
I don't understand it. And, that would be the response of honest doctors. Just because I'm heavy doesn't mean I'm unhealthy. And just because I'm heavier, that I'm morbidly obese, doesn't mean that I'll have health problems. The doctor would go, I don't understand what you're saying. You want me to just write on the prescription pad whatever and give it to you and go on your merry way? What do you want me to do here?
Dude, just reading that
not the answer.
Really made me want to lose weight.
It
felt like it was me saying it. I was like, just because I'm heavy doesn't mean I'm unhealthy.
But you kind of pause.
And again, it's not, she's overweight. No, it's not just that.
No.
Remember, it's Ozempic shit. What it's supposed to do, it's supposed to make your stomach not feel as healthy, lose weight by paralyzing your stomach. That's basically what they're doing. And the more and more you take it, you run the risk of permanently paralyzing your stomach, and it's very dangerous for your health. But by all means, take your Ozempic if that's what you want to do. I, on the other hand, do not recommend it.
She's telling all of you and your kids, and by the way, these are the kinds of people who run public education, all sizes are healthy. Let's do away with the presidential fitness test. Let's do away with standards in the military. Let's just tell everyone the most important thing is to feel good. And by the way, they don't feel good because there's weight in their heart. At one point, their heart's just going to go, that's what's going to happen. So she said this in the video, or was it caption? She said, I don't need to lose weight. I genuinely love myself. Logical fallacy alert. It's the false dichotomy. Let's be clear. Let's read this. Two choices are presented when more might exist, and the claim is made that one is false and one is true, or one is acceptable and the other is not. No one is saying that you have to hate yourself if you are overweight. You don't have to choose between loving yourself or accepting yourself to whatever degree and becoming healthy. I don't know if you know this, but the healthiest people in the world, the most successful people in the world, can always find room for self-improvement. That used to be our culture here. That was often referred to as American exceptionalism. Now you have a lot of room, not much room, but you could improve.
Can always get better.
Depending on the size of the room. You could improve. No one's saying you have to hate yourself, but you should probably be less than satisfied with the health outcomes. And you certainly should be less than satisfied with those health outcomes for our children. Shouldn't we care about our kids enough to teach them how to live a longer and healthier life? If your child was sick, if your child had the flu, would you not help them? Would you not treat them? Would you not give them medicine? Would you not get them rest? Would you not bring them chicken soup or whatever it is? But if your child is morbidly obese, the most important thing...
Because they had me. And me, like I said, I learned through trial and error. I gained a lot of weight. 200 pounds, 210 pounds. Should have been kicked out of the army, but I remember everybody never said anything, which is what the weirdest thing. Some people said it's fine. But one day I looked in the mirror and I was like, holy shit. I look like the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. If I can find the picture, I'll post it. not posted. I'll show y'all. But I was kind of fat. And like I said, I saw that. I'm like, whoa, I need to change something. So I was like, I'm in the Army. What's the first thing I can do? I can run. I've always been good at running. But at that point, like, I needed the help. And that's where I started doing the competitive road runs. And from there, I did Spartan races and marathons. And then COVID happened. So I got to get myself back into that mode. But I'm still 10 to 20 pounds away from 200 and 210. I don't know why I said that. Just my mind works in weird ways, guys. You should know that.
If your child had, I don't know, cancer, progeria, would you say, well, it doesn't matter about the most important thing is just to love yourself? Well, that's a thing. It's not the most important thing, and no one's saying they have to hate themselves.
It's a little different.
This woman goes by the Catherine Renee on Instagram and has made a whole career off of modeling plus-size hammocks. Here she is getting ready for summer.
Are we kidding? This is like the cutout, but a two-piece. I love blue is 100% my color. Yes, it is.
It's like the ocean.
Yeah. I mean, this one every
or the sky.
Every color. Every single bathing suit I try on is an XXL. I feel like a baddie. Yes. Love. I thought this was so cute, but I didn't know how it was going to look. Cutesy. Don't be afraid of the back.
Like a London bus.
Next. This bathing suit is just gorgeous and everything.
Horizontal stripes.
My body dominates those. Dominates.
Jesus
Fan fave. Free red and all black. I love this one. I love the boob cut. Very pretty. Very sexy. The tatas are top-dotty.
Here's the other thing. Well, first off, by the way, youth obesity has gone up from 2012 to 2021, 9.7% to 19.3%. If we throw around the term epidemic, that's an actual epidemic.
Yeah, F you parents.
Yeah, that's an actual epidemic, to be clear. Also, 13 different kinds of cancers are directly linked to obesity. We're seeing a rise, for example, in colon cancer in young people, even though tobacco use and alcohol use has gone down. In other words, that's not enough to counterbalance the rampant obesity. It's a serious problem, but something else. Do you remember, like, when people were really good? Do you remember when we just didn't say, I'm hot, I'm sexy?
Yeah.
Even good-looking people, it was assumed. It was poor form to go, aren't I hot, aren't I sexy? But these people now have commandeered it to, aren't I, and it's a trick question. Aren't I hot, aren't I sexy?
No.
Don't answer honestly.
Yeah, it's like that guy who introduced himself like, hey, I'm Josh, I'm cool.
Yeah, exactly. You're like, you're probably not.
Definitely not cool.
Yeah, you're probably not. You're no James Dean.
Yeah, you wouldn't have to say it.
Speaking of uncool, she got her husband in on the act, and he seems to like it.
For fuck's sake.
My husband wants to show you his outfit of the day, so you better be nice.
Better not be a cunt.
Tell them your outfit
Yeah,
of
I'm
the
sure
day.
he wanted to do this.
Yeah.
I'm Mike Wazowski. You can see Scarlett in this, so it makes me feel good about myself.
Hype him up.
Hype me up.
Okay.
Am I done now?
Good job, baby.
And by the way, after that, she went on to having sleep apnea while awake. This is why we need to bring back patriarchy. This is what I mean. That husband should be like, hey, you're looking a little, you can't, not just fit into your wedding dress, you can't fit into a dress. It's a problem that we need to dress you in tarps. He should be like, yeah, what are you saying? Yeah, I'm saying that you're much bigger than when we met, and it's unhealthy, and if we're going to raise kids, I don't want them to look like you.
Yes.
You need leadership.
Healthy.
Yeah, instead of enabling it.
Yes, and was that a humiliation ritual for him or something like that?
So.
Like, what? And what is that lady, like 5'5"? Isn't that heavy?
I don't know.
Well, when she steps back in the camera, you get like a kind of a perspective on the shower.
Yeah.
It's like, listen, what are we doing here? What is this guy allowing this stuff for?
Let me ask you.
I like him like that.
I could get into some stats, and let me just give you one point, and you'll know that this is true. You ever see the in memoriam for athletes, or for actors, or when people are celebrating someone who's really old as a celebrity? Let's say it's Betty White, whoever it is, and when they pass, everyone mourns them.
Yeah.
Name me one who was an obese elder celebrity.
Oh, elder.
One. Who was a morbidly obese elder who lived into old age. One. Your body's trying to tell you something. You're dying. Let's call this what it is. You are dying, and you're advocating that other people make the same decisions that will lead them to an early death.
The advocating is the bad part.
That's the problem.
Of course.
I'm not going to judge people.
No.
Lifestyle, whatever. But the fact is that she is living this lifestyle and encouraging other people to live that lifestyle. Like,
yeah.
Oh, you can love yourself. You can love yourself. You can also love yourself enough to make a change, or for your husband or for your kids.
Yeah.
Because I'm going through that, but She has this page where she has all these different outfits, and it's all at any size. It's all these
Or if they're like, you can
different
love
posts.
yourself. I just thought about that. You can. But do you care enough about yourself to get motivated?
Saying, oh, you know, this is what you can wear. This is how you can look great. I recommend this for you. So she's built a lifestyle and a brand now that's reliant on her being that heavy.
Right. Yeah.
So now if she wants to pay her mortgage, if she wants to keep her lifestyle up, she has to continue this.
Yeah.
For how long, I don't know. And
well, not that long.
And we see that a lot, and I'm going to counter that.
Well, yeah, I will tell you this. Look, especially after the surgery, I gained 25, 30 pounds. You know, I couldn't move, and my joints hurt more. My blood pressure went up. I didn't feel good.
A lot of it was blood in your lungs, though.
That's true. That's true. It was 4.5 liters. But the point remains: you don't feel good. Just how about this? Try. Also, if someone is advocating a lifestyle, just to be clear, that's easy, that anyone can do, and that contrasts with someone advocating for something that maybe requires some effort on your part. This is a general rule. Usually the one advocating some kind of effort or discomfort, but promising reward in the long term, is correct. Just so you guys know, as a general sort of rule to use is, wait, hold on a second. Who's the one advocating instant gratification and acceptance regardless of outcome? Okay, who's the one saying that I can actually take ownership of this and make decisions and be accountable and actually improve my life in the long term? Who's advocating delayed gratification? I'm going to go with that one. And
that's what I'm going to do.
Well,
yeah. Good. Yeah, you guys can follow me on Instagram. I'm going to document it. Sorry, there's going to be some shirtless pictures. Yeah.
Don't be sorry.
I stepped on a scale last week,
Don't be sorry.
and I was like, oh, dude.
All right, enough of that.
You said you.
So, do I want to do the Chinese spy? Yeah, we're going to do this last one. I'm going to skip the Nick Fuentes one until tomorrow because I found it interesting why Tucker Carlson seems to be dodging the CIA questions again. But this is from James O'Keefe. This guy worked for the U.S. consulate in South Korea, and he was dating this Chinese girl who he says, I don't know if she was a spy for the CCP. And having people like that work for consulates in the State Department? Come on.
A Chinese girl?
Yeah, I was supposed to sort of report what I knew about her.
Is there a concern that it could be like related to CCP though?
I know her dad, but he's like straight up Communist Party. She could have been a spy even. I don't really know. I defied my government for love.
I would do anything for love, but I won't do that. That was a current Foreign Service officer at the U.S. State Department casually dropping a poetic and potentially traitorous line, quote, I defied my government for love.
My name is Hooju Choi. I'm a consular officer here at the U.S. Embassy in Seoul, Korea. My primary role as a diplomat is to engage, with people in other countries and kind of just be myself and show who Americans are and show what America's all about.
That was Mr. Choi speaking on behalf of the U.S. Embassy in Seoul in 2019. Mr. Choi revealed how far he's gone being himself while engaging people in other countries when he admitted to one of our undercover journalists that he dated a Chinese woman last year he suspects was an agent. Now, Daniel Choi has worked at the State Department for almost 20 years and is currently in charge of vetting all student visas from China. A program that recent arrests show have become less about education,
Have we checked his
rather
bank
perhaps
account?
a pipeline for infiltration and espionage. This pipeline is actively pumping agents of the Communist Party into the heart of American industry and innovation. And according to experts like Gordon Chang, the vetting process is already difficult, leaving critical loopholes that are being exploited.
Well, right now it is very difficult to vet a Chinese national. And in the past, we've had many Chinese nationals, when they apply for a visa, not disclose, for instance, their role in the People's Liberation Army or their Communist Party membership. There's so many things that we can't verify. And especially as the regime goes to even greater lengths to weaponize Chinese traveling abroad, we have got to be extremely careful.
There is a distinct balance, however, between national security and isolationism. According to Stephen Orlins, the president of the National Committee on U.S.-China Relations, America's golden age of AI growth in Silicon Valley has directly been fueled by the over 80,000 Chinese students who are approved yearly to study in the United States. Mr. Orland says revoking these visas will cut off the pipeline and create long-term damage.
Chinese investment in the U.S. is a good thing. It creates jobs in the United States. It makes the American people's lives better. But there are people in the United States who believe that academic cooperation between the United States and China is not in American interest. I fundamentally disagree with that. When I went to Silicon Valley and visited all these companies, you look around and it's people who were from China.
In May, Secretary of State Marco Rubio announced major changes to Chinese student visas, including an aggressive sweep to revoke visas from those with connections to the Communist Party. In July, 1,350 staff were fired by the State Department, including 263 foreign service officers like Mr. Choi, and 15 directly from his Office of Consular Affairs. Now, this has left Mr. Choi, a divorced diplomat, ashamed of his job, and in his own words, discouraged and demoralized, making him a perfect target for seduction by a spy.
That's one of like when we do
there's a big
when we would do our counterterrorism training in the military. That was one of the things that we went over, was how to tell if people may be susceptible to getting like a honeypot, or they have debt and something, like all of a sudden they show up with lavish shit and like that when they're not supposed to.
Coming like July 1st.
Sectors like finance.
So some sections will be cut by like 50%. In general, like it's very, very, it's so depressing. Like morale's like really, really bad.
The worst part, he consciously decided to not report it despite acknowledging the threat and that it was his duty to do so. His reason? He felt it would be unfair.
You said you dated a Chinese girl? Work based on like,
so she got this work visa to work for this American company that does a lot of research. Yeah, I was supposed to, whatever.
Because I think I know the way it works.
Sort of report what I knew about her. Like if you're just dating somebody or just like, Scotland. Again, like if they're just a contact and you play cards with them or something, and they're from like Iran or like Korea or North Korea or Russia
or China. And I really want to get out.
But like,
which makes it more frustrating.
I thought that was like kind of unfair. Like
I think
we might date and then we break up, and then like the government still has her information forever, right? If I were dating somebody and we were gonna get married, then I would probably like, when they were from one of these like scary countries or whatever,
right?
Then maybe I would do the report.
That's totally valid, because it's like, don't they keep they keep a record of you and stuff? And it's playing with a different.
Because you're like, you're at the embassy in China,
in
Beijing. You're not allowed to date like locals at all.
That makes sense.
It's here that Choi surprisingly acknowledges that her father is a member of the Communist Party and that she may have been a spy herself.
Were they worried? Like, is there a concern that it could be like related to CCP though?
Yeah. I mean,
they need to like.
She could.
Take
I know her dad. Like, her dad was like either a provincial or a federal minister of education.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he's like straight up Communist Party. I don't know. She could have been a spy even. I don't know.
Oh. So he knew his girlfriend had ties to the CCP. Okay.
You know, the way they talk.
I don't know. She could have been a spy even. I don't really know. You know, the way they talk.
A sweep of China's limited public database of government officials reveals at least one senior CCP officer with the same last name who has served in China's Ministry of Education and specifically student exchanges in the fields of science, technology, and engineering. Whether it was this Communist Party member or another Zhao that follows Mao, it doesn't change the fact that Mr. Choi was required to report these dates to the State Department, all part of his duty to defend the United States of America against all enemies, foreign and domestic. Federal regulations outlined in Security Executive Agent Directive 3 and the State Department's Manual 12 FAM clearly state that Mr. Choi was required to report, quote, within one business day, what he considered to be an attempt by a foreign government to seduce a U.S. diplomat, especially if they are related to a senior member of the CCP. Instead, Mr. Choi concealed the incident and reported it to a woman he met on a dating app, a complete stranger who also could have been a spy. On these dates, Mr. Choi forgot that he was a U.S. diplomat He became, in his words, a random person on the internet.
So nice to talk to, which is a really breath of fresh air.
I'm a random person on the internet.
A random person on the internet with a top secret clearance and the golden keys for entry for every spy and student in Asia.
I saw her like 5 times in like 3 weeks. I had this trip, right? It was partially a work trip. Like the work portion of it was in Korea. But then like I also tacked on like Cambodia, Thailand, and Japan. So I seemed to like not too sure that she wanted to be dating me, right?
Yeah.
And so before I go on the trip, I'm like, look, it's if it's easier, we can just kind of like call it quits now, like
Right.
we're still friends and stuff.
Oh, still friends.
But she didn't want to do that. So she was like, no, I don't want to do that. Like I just want let's just keep it the way
How often do
it
you
is.
talk to
Mr. Choi said he dated the alleged spy Joy Zhao for 6 weeks, began dating her the week she entered America.
But then you gotta think he's spilling all
2024.
this shit to another person he met on a dating app in the United States. What a moron!
And she broke up with him as he returned from an official State Department trip to key nations in the Asia Pacific. All of which Mr. Choi made sure to send updates and photos to her in real time.
This entire 3-week trip that I'm on, like in Asia, I'm like texting her every day. I'm sending her like, 10 pictures every day, and like we're like texting and stuff.
Yeah.
But slowly, like little by little, like I hear less from her, right? There's like fewer updates, like you can tell that like she's kind of losing interest, right? I'm getting near to the end of my trip, and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm gonna be back this Sunday, right? And then her one word reply was, oh.
Oh, that's
The United States has entered a new era of great power competition, which includes what could be a century-long struggle against the Communist Party of China.
Articles 7 and 14 of the 2017 National Intelligence Law of China requires every Chinese national and every Chinese entity to commit acts of espionage if they receive a demand from relevant authorities. But even more important, the Communist Party demands absolute obedience of Chinese nationals and Chinese entities. Every Chinese entity or national in our country is a potential
So it's
threat.
the law.
We
They
know
have to
that
spy.
Chinese students have been used by the regime to commit acts of espionage.
Part of the struggle is ensuring that the men and women serving our government don't fall prey to seduction operations and follow the well-established rules for reporting contacts and conversations with potential spies. We demand more from our public servants. That and the truth will preserve us for generations to come. I'm sad to report to you that this is not the beginning. In fact, many people and many federal government agents in D.C. continue to behave this way. We demand better, but stay tuned, because soon we'll be going to Washington, D.C. and revealing more at the highest.
Right. Just like you did with the Epstein stuff, cocksucker. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, that's all I've got for you today. Like I said, I was going to do one more, but I'm kind of hungry, and my food's sitting right there. Little bit to think about. Just to think about, because I'm not telling you how to think, because then you would think, like, I don't know, you'd probably be a crazy psycho sometimes. Sometimes. Not all the time. But dogs are going crazy, so that must mean the male's here. Anyway, I hope y'all have a good rest of your day. It is Thursday. Friday is not sure what's going on tomorrow yet. I don't know. But keep a lookout. Ladies and gentlemen, keep a lookout. Or not, because sometimes I do talk senseless shit and forget a lot of what I'm talking about. But anyway, I'm just telling you how to think. Did I ever say that? Did I get to that point? I'm sure I did.